Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the world's greatest YouTube channel, Inner Conquest. I'm Jacob Edens. I'm your host, and today we're going to be talking about the much anticipated 12 disciplines of mind, the 12 disciples, which translates to the 12 disciplines of mind as created by Neville Goddard, or not created by Neville Goddard, but revealed by Neville Goddard. So, without further ado, let us dive in. So, when we look at the mind, right, the mind really translates to that fourth dimensional reality. If I'm here in a third dimensional reality where everything is physicalized, I can, in my mind, conjure an image of a red bicycle, right? And that can be held as a image on what is called the screen of space. So the screen of space is that fourth dimensional reality that is the land of imagination. And so the whole premise of everything that Neville Goddard has ever taught is that imagining creates reality. So if we work with the simple premise that imagining creates reality, that means that our goal would be naturally to master and control our imagination. So if we can control our imagination, we can now use the tool that is the cause of all phenomena in third dimensional reality. We can control that cause and we can sculpt our reality much more easily, right? So if you're unconscious, that means that you don't have control over your attention. So the goal is to gain absolute, indisputed control over your attention so you can turn your dream into a daydream, meaning that if you have full control over your attention, there's nothing that you are a victim to. You can change every circumstance easily by understanding first the cause of all circumstances and then executing the different aspects of discipline in your mind to sculpt your reality the way you see fit. So these 12 disciplines, 12 disciples, the 12 qualities of mind of man are essentially the 12 different aspects of the human mind, meaning that your mind has many different ways in which it displays itself. You can have inner dialogue, you can have mental movies, you can have feeling states, you can have memories, you can have intuition, you can have all sorts of different dynamics which are what we would consider in the unseen realm, right? Out of this world, in the realm of that fourth dimensional mind that is the place where we can have total dominion immediately over all phenomena. So when we look at the disciplines of mind, the goal is to understand every single aspect of mind, and then it is to discipline that. That's why they are called the disciples. So if you have a mind, you have all of these 12 aspects that make up your mind. However, they are not disciplined. So once you become disciplined in all 12 different aspects, you become Christ like. So the Christ mind is essentially the mind that has disciplined all of these different aspects to work towards whatever your dream vision or your end result is, right? So if you have a goal to be phenomenally wealthy, then in a perfect world, all of your 12 disciplined aspects of mind work together like an army to create the reality of you being wealthy, right? If you have an undisciplined mind and your goal is to be wealthy, and then you have thoughts and feeling states and everything that is misaligned to that, you have an undisciplined mind. Your mind is not cohesively always on your side, under your control, serving you to create your ends, right? So, this is why it's so important to understand all of these different aspects, because once you have your goal, you can now use as many or as little of these aspects of mind to live in the wish fulfilled. So, when you're living in the wish fulfilled, your mind is using these 12 aspects in alignment with the reality as if it's already happened. So, without further ado, let's go through these different disciplines and we'll discuss them now. So, the first discipline, Simon Peter, quality, the attribute of hearing, being careful of what enters the house consciousness, only what you know to be true of your desired outcome and not of what the world of Caesar says. So, this is a classic bedrock discipline for your mind. So when you hear your friend say, "Man, my back really hurts. I've been having really bad back pain. I'm not feeling very good," right? If you were to effectively use the discipline of Simon Peter, what you would do is you would hear that in the third dimensional reality. In your mind, you would replay that as, "Man, my back has never felt better. I am feeling incredible." And you see your friend in their ideal state. So this is revision, right? When you have something that you hear, like this would work with SP as well too. So if you have an SP and they're like, "Hey, I think we should take a break." You go into your mind and you revise that to mentally rehearse and mentally hear them saying, "No, I think we should stay. I think we should move in together," whatever your goal is, right? It doesn't matter what the circumstance is. The premise is whatever you hear externally, you discipline your mind to go inside and to play the version that you want, right? Because you can't control the outside, but you can control the inside. And if we truly have bought into the premise that imagination creates reality, then we want to control our imagination and to hear as if what we are hearing is in alignment with what we want. So that's a super important foundational discipline of changing the auditory attributes of our mind to align with a wanted goal. Disciple Andrew, quality, courage, having faith in unseen, your world, your wonderful human imagination / God, your desires. Not getting carried away with appearances, senses, and opinions of others in the outside world. So, what this means is that if I play a mental image of having $5,000 come in, right? And I have not seen that yet. What I do is I persist in that mental image rather than diverting my attention to the reality in which it has not come. So if my goal is to own a certain truck or to date a certain person, if that person or truck or money has not appeared in my third dimensional reality, what that means is that my loyalty has to be to the unseen reality, not to the third dimensional reality. Because the third dimensional reality is simply a byproduct of what I have been thinking, feeling, and imagining in the past. So, what that means is that if I take my third dimensional reality as truth, you go back to the Isaac, Esau, and Jacob story, right? Isaac is the I amness. You can either I am give the birthright to Esau, which is validate your third dimensional world and say that's the truth, or you can validate the Jacob, which is your fourth dimensional ideal, your imaginative act as the reality. So you always want to identify your I amness with the imaginal act over the third dimensional reality, meaning that if you have a goal and it hasn't manifested yet, you have to have the persistence to keep reorienting yourself to that imaginative act and to keep validating that as the real reality, as the truth. I am the way, right? I am the version of myself who is experiencing this in imagination because imagination creates reality. I am this version. This version is all temporary, it's always changing. The version of my mind that I want to be, I identify with that above all else. The third and fourth disciples, James and John, their qualities. James the just, the righteous judge, and his brother John the beloved. Justice, to be wise, must be administered with love, ever turning the other cheek, and at all times returning well for evil, love for hate, non-violence for violence, knowing that everyone is you pushed out and only showing your conscious beliefs about yourself and others. When we treat all with love, love gets shown. When mercy is given, mercy is given, all is you. What this is everyone is you pushed out. So if you have somebody come up and flip you off and cut you off in traffic, instead of blaming and condemning that individual as, not cool, you want to understand that everyone is you pushed out. And when it is communicated that no one has free will in your reality, what that means is that if I have a vibratory energy structure in me that is angry, it will attract angry people to it. So, what this means is that I have to take responsibility for the way people are showing up in my reality because they can only show up depending on who I am. So if people keep taking advantage of me, instead of condemning that person, understand that that's a reflection of me condemning myself. If people keep treating me like a victim, know that I'm being a victim, right? My energy, even though I may deny it, my energy, my feeling states, my continued imaginative acts are all in alignment with being a victim, and it is producing the effects in my world, right? The importance of this and the importance of taking personal responsibility for your reality is not so that you can feel bad about yourself for creating all this stuff. You shouldn't feel bad or judge yourself, because if you're unconscious, you fall into states with no power to get out of them, right? So when you become conscious, now you give yourself that power to change whatever state you want. So don't worry about being in an unwanted state or having unwanted circumstances. Circumstances are always changing, and now you're going to have the ability to change that as well. So when you have an unwanted circumstance, what you want to do is understand that that's something in you that's causing that. And the great thing about taking personal responsibility for you causing any and every situation is now you have power over any and every situation. Because if everything that happens to you is just a cause of who you're being, and now you are an identity who can control who they're being, now you just use everything as data of who you're being, right? It's not as big of a deal. It's just good indicators of, oh, I've been entertaining low vibe, thoughts and emotions, and that's why this isn't going the way I want it to. Thank goodness I just got a little slap on the wrist. Now I can really change my energy before it gets out of hand, and I can actually upgrade that and turn it into something better. So it's just understanding that everyone is you pushed out, essentially. Disciple Philip, quality, the awakened man, knows that the Father is the state of consciousness in which man dwells. This aspect of the mind, when disciplined, persists until ideas, ambitions, and desires become embodied realities. I and my Father are one, you are God in form. This is identifying yourself with your imagination. Understanding that if I go to sleep right now, I go into a dream world, I'm still an identity and I'm in a realm, right? So no matter where I am, I know that I am. And no matter where I am, I have an imaginative quality about me, meaning that no matter where I am, I can change my perception, I can change my mental imagery, I can change my feeling states, I can change my anything that I want in imagination. So understanding when you're awakened is that you have this imaginative power that creates and constructs and conducts reality, and that you have control over that. Really understanding that you have control over your um, imagination is understanding that you have an influential aspect about you in reality. You're not just here floating around the ocean. You are the creator of your reality. And once you understand that, it's liberating, because now you can start to decrease the importance level that everything else has, in terms of, if you look at exiting the land of many gods, right? Like if I have a bunch of different gods that I worship, like money, or like, having to diet correctly, or having to do all these things to get all these things, you start to let those things go, in terms of having them have so much influence over you, because the only law of the universe is I am that which I am aware of being. So whoever I claim to be, that's the name of God. I am. Whoever I am is what the mirror and screen of space reflects. So being awakened is understanding that whoever I am being is being reflected, and I can control who I am being, and that allows me to control the reflection. Disciple Bartholomew, quality, the imaginative faculty. This quality is the imaginative faculty, which quality of the mind, whence one awakened, distinguishes one from the masses. When you realize that consciousness is the only reality and your imagination is the key to life, then you awaken to your power, and that by your imagination you create your outside reality. What you believe yourself to be will be projected onto the screen of life and your experiences. This one's pretty self explanatory. So, this is really understanding that imaginative faculty, right? If I have a goal, right? I can access the end state now. my goal is to be a millionaire, I can conjure an image of my Bank of America account with $100 million in it right now, and I can validate that, and I can focus on that dominantly, and I can build a bridge of incidents to go to that reality. But that reality is already here now because it's a fourth dimensional reality. And everything that is in a third dimensional reality was constructed in a fourth dimensional reality first. So if I can go straight to the root of causation, which is my imagination, and I can control that and I can focus it and I can be loyal to it and I can persist in it until it crystallizes into a third dimensional reality, I have found the secret of life. I have found the ability to consciously create and craft my circumstances in ways that are meaningful to me. Number 7, disciple Thomas, quality. The disciplined quality doubts or denies every rumor and suggestion that are not in harmony with that which Simon Peter has been commanded to let enter into our consciousness. You have the power to believe only that which you want to be, have, and do. Once this is disciplined, you will doubt and deny everything the world says that is not in alignment with your desire. This is a super, super important one. This is your defense. This is your mind's fortress walls, fortress gate, archer towers. This is what kills anything that is not in alignment with your desire. So when you're growing up until you're about 7 years old, you don't have any conscious decision making faculties. So you're just a sponge and you absorb everything from your parents and all the adults and kids that are around you, and you just absorb it, and that kind of makes up your personality. Now, once you start to get decision making faculties and you start to crystallize an identity, you now have the ability to say no to what your I amness is attached to. So if you are, I am Jacob, if somebody comes up to me and goes, "Hey, Kevin," I go, "No, I'm Jacob. I am that which I decide and identify with," right? So if you are like, "I'm making thousands of dollars a day," and you look at your bank account and you made 950, you go, "No, I make thousands of dollars a day. That's who I am." Being able to see circumstances that are not in alignment with your ultimate dream vision and reorient back to your dream vision and deny that they are who or what you identify with is how you crystallize your I amness. Doesn't mean that they're not real, or it's not that they're not a possibility. It's just not what you identify with, right? Because this is all based on the premise that imagination creates reality. It's based on the premise that the world is a holographic simulation reflection of who I am being. I smile and then the mirror smiles back. The mirror doesn't smile and then I smile and the mirror smiles back. So when I choose to be something and my third dimensional reality shows me something that is not in alignment with who I've chosen to be because it's a byproduct of who I've been thinking and being over the past few years, etc., I have changed internally, so I don't identify with that anymore. I go, "Nope, that's not me. I am this. Nope, that's not me. I am this." And the goal and the key to this quality of mind is to not linger in the unwanted. You just see it and you go, "Cool, that's not me. I am this." And then you spend all of your time in "I am this," right? Because that's where your power is. Very, very important discipline. Arguably one of the most important disciplines. Disciple Matthew, quality, desire, the gift of God. This quality of the mind reveals man's desires as gifts of God. The man who has called this disciple into knowing that every desire of his heart is a gift from heaven and that it contains both the power and the plan of its self expression, nothing is impossible to God, which is your wonderful human imagination. If you can think and imagine a thing, you can have it in your screen of life as it is all gifts from God. So when you go to the end in your imagination and you imagine being with your SP or having that amount of money or having that car in your driveway or having that house, what you want to understand is that very much uh, in similarity to how you have point A to point B, alpha and omega, right? So Christ says, "I am the alpha and I am the omega." We oftentimes ignore that top part. We oftentimes see alpha and omega, and we're like, okay, I need to go down this linear path to get here, right? That's kind of naturally where our mind goes. But if we just go right here, I'm point A, I don't have the thing, but in my mind, I have the thing. We can just fold time and space and go there right now, right? So being able to understand that the bridge of incidence will take care of itself. If I'm here, say I don't have $1,000,000, and then I go to a mental image that I have $1,000,000, my goal is to merge that now. So my goal is to quantum leap into that reality now. Start being that person now, knowing that who I am is reflected on the screen of space, and understanding that the universe will do backflips, it will do mental gymnastics to make whatever I create in that fourth dimensional reality seem as if it happened in a natural progression. But my goal is to understand that once I hold that mental image, that within itself contains the elements of fulfillment. It contains the blueprints of fulfillment, or else it wouldn't be accessible to me. If I can see it in the end, it means that by inherently seeing that in the end, I have accessed a sector of reality that is accessible to me, and the ability to achieve that is not my concern. My persistence in the state as if it's already happened is my job, and then the universe will create bridges of incidents and sequences and coordinate people, places, and events that will linearly lead me to that end. But as long as I am loyal to that end, it is 100% guaranteed to be done. Disciple James, the son of Alphaeus. This quality is the quality of discernment. A clear and ordered mind is the voice that calls this disciple into being. The faculty perceives that which is not to the eye of man. This disciple judges not from appearance, for it can function in the realm of causes, and so is never misled by appearances. This is just not giving a shit about 3D. So if I am loyal to an unseen reality, and I have a car that I want, I go outside, and every time I go outside, in my mind, I see that car in my driveway. Maybe it's not physically there yet, but remember, how do things get here physically? They are focused upon in a fourth dimensional reality first. So, my job, if you want to take a law of attraction standpoint to this, my job is to focus on the feeling state of the wish fulfilled, knowing that that will attract the cooperative components to bring that to its realization. My job is to feel like I already have it. My job is to think from the state of having it. My job is to continually play spiritual sensation and phenomena in my mind that would correlate to me having that now. And what this does is it delinks you from needing the physical third dimensional reality to be a certain way, to feel a certain way. So if I am able to live in my imagination and persist in my imagination, then the third dimensional reality has to conform to that. But if I'm conditional on the third dimensional reality showing me certain things before I can occupy a state, then I'm living a conditional life, which means I'm still a slave to the external, right? Because if the external doesn't change, then I don't feel good. If I don't feel good, it means that I'm not feeling as if I already have it. So I'm basically being told by the external reality who I can and can't be, or what I can and cannot have. So when you start to let the external world be as it is and focus on the fourth dimensional world, you start to superimpose your imaginative acts onto the screen of space and see them as real, as opposed to just fly by night fancies in your mind. You start to use your mind to construct and create reality in the way that you want to. And what happens is, if I have a lamp right here that's red and I want it to be blue, I don't physically go get paint and change the lamp to blue. I just start seeing the lamp as blue. Every time I look at it, I go, this is a nice blue lamp. Well, it's fucking red, but I see it as blue. And then what will happen is some ridiculous circumstance will happen where my grandmother will call me and be like, hey, can you come get coffee with me today? And I'll go get coffee with her. And she'll be like, hey, oh, by the way, I have this extra blue lamp. Do you want this blue lamp? And I'll be like, sure. And then I'll get home and I'll be like, oh, my red lamp, its bulb is dead. Let me change this. And then, fuck, what the hell? 2 weeks later, I have a blue lamp in here. That's how everything works, right? You go through that bridge of incidents, and if you do it right, you don't even know you're going through the bridge of incidents. That's why when Neville Goddard had the ladder experiment, you're climbing up the ladder, people 90% of the time got halfway up the ladder and they're like, oh my God, I said I wasn't going to climb a ladder, right? Your job is to focus on what you want and to feel as if you already have it now and to not worry about appearances because they're just byproducts of past thought. The disciple Thaddeus, quality of praise. When this quality of praise and thanksgiving is awakened within man, he walks with the words, thank you, Father, ever on his lips, knowing that his thanks for things not seen opens the windows of heaven and permits gifts beyond his capacity to receive to be poured upon him, because everything is possible and everything is already created. You just believe it to be true and it will be yours, being grateful at all times. This is really important because if you truly live in a world of fulfillment where everything is yours and you are reality and you're able to have anything you want, all you would ever say is thank you. So when you want something, if you understand that if you can go to the end in your mind, that, as according to the other disciples, is indicative of it having its own blueprint to fulfillment, then you just say thank you for the desire. Because now that you have a desire, it's a precursor to having it physically. So you just go, oh, thank you for that. That's a great thing that I want. Yes, thank you for that. What people often do is they see an improvement in their life that they could have, and then they focus on where they are, and they realize that they're not that, and they get stuck in being upset that they don't have it already. So you want to flip that to anytime you have a desire, you claim it as yours now. You go, this is who I am now. Yep, that's an improvement. That's who I am now. You look in the mirror, you don't have six pack abs, you go, thank you for my six pack abs. Thank goodness now that I have the clarity that that's what I want. Thank you that I have that now. Thank you that I have that now, because you can have it now depending on your dimensional awareness. If you understand that everything third dimensional is created and constructed by a fourth dimensional mindscape, if you have it in your mind, the mirror has to reflect. The whole premise of faith and persistence is understanding that because there's a linear element to third dimensional reality, the mirror takes a bit of time to load that program. Like if you put in a disc or a DVD for a certain movie, it takes a couple seconds to get through the previews, to get through the menu, and then you play the movie, right? So you have the movie, you just put it in and just let it play, right? So anytime that you want something, you immediately shift to that state of having it, and then you are grateful that you have it, because gratitude, if you go to a frequency alignment standpoint, it's indicative of having, right? Whenever I get in my nice car, I go, damn, this is a nice car, right? I love having this car. I get in my car, and if I didn't have that car, in my mind, if I replayed and precursed the imagery of getting into my car and be like, damn, this is a nice car, I love having this car, eventually the screen of space would bring me that same exact car and match that end state that I'm in. So putting yourself into the end state and living in that state, gratitude is really nice, because the opposite of gratitude is like cursing things and being angry all the time. So if you have someone who's angry all the time about all this shit, they're just magnetizing that shit to them. So if you take the opposite of that and you have gratitude, you're like, damn, I'm making a lot of money. Damn, I have nice cars. Damn, I date the hottest people ever. Right. And that's your chronic kind of wavelength vibration that you're in. You're just attracting that over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And then you build so much momentum on that gratitude that it's normal for you to receive whatever you want to receive. Discipline. Simon of Canaan quality, hearing good news. This discipline aspect of the mind is incapable of hearing anything other than good news, and is so well qualified to preach the gospel, or good spell, consciousness is the only reality. Therefore, you only see good in things and see everything always working out for you, because you are the only creator of your world. No one can cause anything in your life, only your consciousness. This is understanding that you have power to create the exact life that you want. And when you adopt the core belief that everything is always working out for you, it's very, very useful, because anytime you have something that's really negative or not what you want, you use the premise of You can't know what you want until you don't know what you want, until you know what you don't want. So if I'm poor all the time, I want to be rich, right? And what's a better state than being poor? Being rich. So if you've been poor all the time, the reason you want to be so rich is because you've been fucking poor all the time. So you just realize that that worked out in your favor to guide you to a better version of yourself, right? It really crystallized and made it clear on what you want, right? Now, when you are clear on what you want, you cannot hear anything that is not in alignment with what you want. Bring it back to the friend, right? If you wanted to take it to a macro standpoint, friend says my back is hurting, you immediately revise that to, oh my goodness, my back's never felt better in my entire life. I feel amazing, right? And that's lovingly correcting sins, right? That's redeeming your world. So when you have a lot of things that are unredeemed, and if everyone is you pushed out, a lot of those things are caused by your judgment of them, your perception of them, how you feel about them, and you are the one who wounds and heals in your reality. So if someone's wounded, you have the ability to hear what they said in your mind as if it has already been fixed. A good example, if you want to practice this, is if a friend loses a job, see them as employed, right? And just keep seeing them as if they're making more money than they've ever made. And then the next thing you know, a couple months down the line, hey man, I got a really good job, da 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 da, right? So you want to exert positive, good, loving influence that follows the golden rule. Would I want this done to me, right? If the answer is yes, then help them out with your imaginative acts. And don't allow anything that is not what you would want to be heard by you, if that makes sense. The last discipline is Judas, which is another top 3 one. Quality is detachment. When this quality is awake, man knows that he must die to that which he is before he can become that which he desires to be. You cannot become that which you want to be before dying to the old self. Your old way of thinking, doing, reacting, responding has to die first and be changed into the new man you want to be. To see another in a different way, you have to first change yourself in the way that you perceive that one to be, then the way you perceive that one to be, then they will lead into what you now, with the new man, perceive them to be. It cannot change another. Change yourself, and then the other will change. So, what this means is if I have a bank balance of $100 million, and I want my bank balance to be $10 billion, I have to understand that I cannot give validation to my third dimensional reality. I have to persist in the wish fulfilled, the state of the wish fulfilled. So every single time I open my account, in my mind, I need to see a visual image of that account looking like $100 million and understand that that is the reality. That is the reality. Because if I can see that in my mind, it contains within it the blueprint of fulfillment. So if I understand that living in the end contains the blueprint of fulfillment, then that is my only objective, is to be the person who has it. Now, if I physically look with my physical eyes and it only says a meager 10 million and I'm going for 100 million, then that has to die. So I become detached to that and I remove all of my emotional reaction from it. I just give it good meaning. So I go, oh, only 10 million? Cool. This is perfect. This is an exact stepping stone on the bridge of incidents to bring out the fulfillment and the absolute reflection of my true reality of being an individual who has $100 million, right? So I become detached. If I have an SP that I am making out with and my wish fulfilled, and I see them at a party and they don't talk to me, I just go, good. That's the perfect unfolding. They just need time to get sorted on whatever they need to get sorted on. Everything is going according to plan. This is my wish fulfilled. And then I go to that end state again. I am unfazed by the things that happen externally. What matters is what is in my mind and who I am choosing to be now. And when you start to operate like that, Everything is good because everything is just a byproduct of your past thinking. So if that was able to manifest based on your past thinking, then everything is working correctly. The universe is working correctly. Now you're just mastering it. The mechanics are there and the mechanics are working, and that is worth celebrating. But you want to detach because you don't want to let your old self program you. So if I choose to be the $100 million version and there's 10 million in there, then anything that is correlative with the 10 million version, I emotionally become indifferent to, because emotions bind, indifference cuts. So if I am indifferent to something, that means that I am cutting the tie with that thing. I am no longer identifying with it. Doesn't mean that I judge it or I get engaged with it or try to fix it. I'm just not identified with it. It's like if you're a super ultra marathon runner and you have one day of running where you don't do so hot, you go, that's not me. I'm a gangster runner, right? It doesn't phase your identity. Your identity is crystallized. So your goal is to identify with your wish fulfilled and crystallize that identity to such an amount that it's the same identification as your name. Hey, Jacob, is your name Kevin? No, it's Jacob. Hey, Jacob, are you a $100 million guy or a $10 million guy? No, I'm a $100 million guy, right? So you build that identity through living and persisting in that wish fulfilled. And anything that is external to you that does not align with that, you just don't identify with it. Doesn't mean it's not a possibility, doesn't mean it's not a reality, but you're not identified with it because everything is always changing and everything is a reflection of who you're being. So the only thing that matters is what you're imagining and who you're being in that fourth dimensional reality and controlling that to be in alignment with your wish fulfilled. After these 12 states, qualities of mind are embodied and disciplined into being, then you will become like Jesus Christ, that you have always been. Awakening to this fact is the only way to change your life on this reality and plane where you have this human life experience. It all starts with you. And that is the 12 Disciples with the 12 Qualities of Mind of Man by Neville Goddard. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Feel free to leave comments if you have specific questions about it. Additionally, I have coaching. There's a link tree in the bio for calls and emails. On top of that, I'm going to be building this into a course. I've already talked to a couple people about it, but just give me a little bit of time to get it ironed out so that it's actually easy for you to master these, because once you master these 12 disciplines, there's nothing else to master in your mind. These are the only 12 disciplines that your mind has. So if you master these and you become what is called unconsciously competent at using these elements of your mind to coordinatedly in coordination to achieve your goals, you're just a monster. You're unstoppable. There's nothing you can't achieve because all of these are working for you as if you were a general and these are your captains. And your captains are just executing 24/7, 365 to make your dreams come true. And it's a total reversal of the average human experience where you have your mind attacking you and hitting you with all these limitations and things of that nature. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Go conquer.